All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahushua, Bahashim, Rakah Kodash. I want to give double honors to my apostles and elders, great millstone. While not this truth from, and salutation out there to the hopeful lick who continue to push his word in our truth, faith, and sincerity. And today, man, just basically getting on a Speckle Bird right here, man. I'm going to play the video and then I'm get the scriptures. But just to show you, man, Israel comes in, different diverse and flavors. Showing you that we're coming from Yahweh by Hashem Yahushua. And no matter where you at, or no matter what nation that you look like, if you Israel, it will seep through, you know? If your bloodline goes back into Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, for the lack of better words, it's nothing that you can do to hide that. You can be PC for a little while or try to maintain your niggerisms, but at the same time, the spirit of the Lord will still come out, man. That Jake in you will still come out. Now, real quick, the inspiration in this video is from this guy on Instagram called Jew Boy Jacob, and I've been looking at him for a minute. And what he basically do, he make music, do acapellas and stuff and music and play his own instruments. And when I first seen him, I was thinking like he might be, but I should have never questioned him, man. Because his talent shows that he's Jake. What it says that in the book of St. Matthew, the 5th chapter, that we are the salt of the world. Whether it be the entertainment industry or anything, we are the ones that make the world go around, man. So I'm gonna play a little bit of the video and I'm gonna get the scriptures. And yeah, just back there, I think the guy in the middle, I think he's Cuban or something like that. But if you don't if you don't think this guy's an Israelite, I want you to do this and make it better, man. This guy, he's on tone, he's playing instruments and everything, but it just shows you how Yahweh by Shema Shai have scattered us, man. And how perfect our Lord is. He didn't make every Israelite look the same. Not every Israelite is going to be look like Wesley Snipes. And not every Israelite is going to act like NBA Youngboy. It's different type of styles and diverse flavors once it comes into the nation of Israel, man. Now let me go ahead and get the scriptures. Let's go over here real quick in Deuteronomy 28, and I'm gonna start at verse 64. It says, "And the Lord Yahweh by Hashem Yahushua shall scatter thee among all people." And a part of the Lord scattering us is making us look like people that we didn't come from, because it's Israelites over there in China, but they have those little squinty eyes. It's Israelites over there in Italy. But they don't have the brass skin like Yahushua. And there's even Israelites over there in Israel. And they might have a hat on one. But at the same time, if their bloodline goes back into Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, guess what? Their talent will show through. Another thing, once it goes into, because not all Jews are Amalekites. Once it comes into the entertainment industry, part of the Jews that made good times, some of it was Jake, man. A part of the Jews that came together to make Soul Train, some of it was Jake. Because how they know to get the connection to Jake, man? Read this again. It says, "And the Lord shall scatter thee among all people." And even though Jake is scattered, they're going to always connect to their people, man. Even, everybody can attest to this. It's always a white boy that's always hanging around Jake. And he said, "You want to be black?" No, he is black. He's just a chocolate-covered Israelite. He's a white chocolate-covered Israelite, man. And nothing is wrong with that. He's not a Gentile. He's not a guy who's going to get grafted in. No, man. He's an Israelite. It's just throughout the period of time and throughout the period of generations, he lost his pigment. And that's what a lot of corner niggas look at here in these latter days, just the pigmentation. You ain't black enough to be an Israelite, or even with the ham, you too black to be an Israelite. But guess what? Here in these latter days, Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushai, like it says, he's going to let the wheat grow up with the tare. And now is really the time of separating. Because now niggas, this nigga just an Edomite. And now he could be a Jake. Guys like Justin Timberlake, Eminem, before he got crazy. You know what I'm saying? They was Jake. But again, Esau tried to, for the lack of better words, make shame of that. For a so-called guy who looked white and he's trying to adapt to this quote-unquote black culture, even though it's wicked. That's something that he just connect with. And ultimately, the reason why he connect with it because his bloodline goes back into those people. Read this again. It says, "And the Lord shall scatter thee among all people, from the one end of the earth even unto the other. And thou shalt serve other gods, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone." And right there, because a part of these people serving other gods, unlike this Jewish guy, I don't know if he a Messianic Jew or non-Messianic Jew, or do he believe in the Messiah? But for the lack of better words, even when you go into the people over there in India, you go into the people in China, in Russia, Israelite is scattered everywhere. And throughout those people growing up in those different cultures, they wasn't introduced into a man with woolly afro and brass skin. Even us. It took a period of time before we really got introduced unto Yahweh Shai. So that's a part of the Lord scattering us and us serving other gods, man. Because the 12 tribes of Israel, they're not all connected. Now, we're not all over there in Israel right now. Let's go ahead and continue on, though. It says, "And among the heathen thou shalt find no ease, neither shall the sole of thy foot have rest." And a lot of these Israelites who be in these different countries, guess what? They're the scum of the earth. I did a video, on 2 videos, matter of fact, last week, how these different nations hate you. Because let's say even if you do go to their country for a refuge and you start your little family, you're going to have to stay outside the city. Because they're going to see you as nothing but a nigga. But guess what? They only see you as an Israelite for real. No matter if you got the dark skin or light skin. It's some people over there in India, they stay on top of the mountain. They don't even want to touch Jake. Because Jake live at the bottom of the hill, man. Let's go ahead and continue on. It says, "But the Lord shall give thee the trembling heart and failing of eyes and sorrow of mind." And the reason why, because we fell away from him, man. We fell away from our power, and ultimately we fell away from our heritage. But now, in the times that we're living in now, Yahweh Shai Shai is bringing us back together. Let's get something real quick, and then we're going to jump to the Isaiah. Let's go to Isaiah 11. We're going to hold that on deck. But let's go back right here into Jeremiah 12, and let's start at verse 8. It says, "And my inheritance is unto me as a lion in the forest. It cried out against me, therefore have I hated it." And a part of Jake, when they were scattered throughout these different countries, you worship other gods. Just going back into that Deuteronomy 68th chapter, and that's why the Lord hated you, man. And gave you a confusion of face. And a part of that confusion of face, you can say, yeah, there's brothers that was dark skin, now they're light skin. Now you can say that, but there's even talking to us not having this information, not having this truth, and not knowing who our true power comes from. That's why the Lord hated Israel and we were scattered and those curses came upon us. But let's continue on. "My inheritance is unto me as a speckled bird. The birds round about are against her," right now. It says, "My inheritance unto me is as a speckled bird." Basically, means it's different flavors, different colors. But it also says the birds round about her are against her. That's talking about these different nations, man. Because even amongst the Jews, they say it's a difference between being a Zionist and being an Israelite. That's even a big discrepancy, not a big discrepancy, but a big divide between that. Because there's some people saying, yeah, we ain't with that. And there's some people saying, this, that, and the third. But again, at the end of the day, Yahweh Shai, he's letting the weak grow up with the tares, man. And that separating is happening now, man. And it's ultimately going to happen once we get beamed up into those chariots. Because don't be surprised if somebody that you thought was a little hat and got converted in the times of Jacob's trouble get beamed up upon the chariots. He believed, the Torah good. Hey, Yahweh Shai is going to do some wonderful things here in these latter days. Let's go ahead and continue on, though. It says, the birds round about her are against her. And going back into that Deuteronomy 68th chapter, man. About how we shall have no ease. You know, continuing on, let's go to 66. It says, and thy life shall hang in doubt before thee, and thou shalt fear day and night, and thou shalt have none assurance of thy life. And that's it. Because ultimately, you're in slavery. Whatever they get, they're in slavery. Even if they on top, they're in slavery, man. You know? Even the guys that's over there with the Zionists and the Israelis, they're in slavery. They have to actually be a part of the military. But just going back into it, how all these birds and all these nations are against us, because they know who we are. They know who our fathers come from. And at the same time, the best thing that they can do, or the best interest of them, is for us to be continually separated from our power, man. You know, so they could continue to rule and ultimately shit on Jake. But let's go ahead and finish it off. Let's go ahead and go back to Jeremiah 12. It says, the birds are round against her. It's like the birds round about are against her. Come ye, assemble all the beasts of the earth. It's like all the beasts of the field come to devour. And that's what Yahweh Shai did. He set us up for us to basically be exploited. And the reason why we was exploited because we transgressed against them. But hey, that exploitation is not coming any more longer. Why? Because we're returning back into our power, and ultimately we're acknowledging our offenses. So here in these latter days, our Lord and Savior, Yahweh Shai, is going to deliver us, man. You know, not only deliver us from this wicked world, deliver us from ourselves, man. The brothers who didn't have that pigmentation, hey, you're going to have it back in the kingdom. No, so let's go ahead and finish it off right here. This is the book of Isaiah 9. And it's like Isaiah 11. And I'm going to jump down. Let's start at verse 9. It says, let's start at verse 10, get to the point. It says, in that day there shall be a root of Jesse, which shall stand for an ensign of the people. Yeah, and that ensign of the people is talking about Yahweh Shai. That's their ruler Jesse. You know, it says, to it shall the Gentiles seek. Now, that Gentiles is not talking about, the natural Gentiles. No, that's the Israelite that's in the Gentile state of mind. Because, again, that's what that song Amazing Grace was for. We was found, now we can now see. No, we was lost, but now we are not found. What's the meaning of us being lost? Us being in that Gentile state of mind. Eating pork, eating an egg, sausage, and cheese biscuit. That's a Gentile state of mind, bro. But at the same time, now we're coming into life. Now brothers like lamb now, But it's even bigger than that. Now we have the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. We know what nation that we come from. We have the understanding of Yahweh Shai. We know about the prophecies. And ultimately, we know why we are here and why we were in this position. Because we was all once Gentiles, according to Ephesians, the 2nd chapter, Continuing on, though, it says, to it shall the Gentiles seek. So here in these latter days, the Gentiles, or the men, the Israelite, that's basically in the Gentile state of mind, they will seek Yahweh Shai. Because again, that's just like their home base. Continuing on, it says, in his rest shall be glorious. Because again, once you seek Yahweh Shai, ultimately you get a peace of mind. Let's continue on. It says, and it shall come to pass, in that day that the Lord shall set his hand again the second time to recover the remnant of his people. So the elect. Continuing on, which shall be left from Assyria, and from Egypt, and from Pathros, and from Cush, and from Elam, and from Shinar, and from Hamath, and from the islands of the sea. Now again, why is naming these different nations? Why? Because Israel was scattered throughout these different nations. What I just read to earlier in Deuteronomy the 28th verse, the 64th. The 28th chapter, the 64th verse. Salakia. It says, continuing on, it says, and he shall set up an ensign for the nations and shall assemble the outcast of Israel. And that's it. Because ultimately, wherever Israel was at, they was outcast, even us today. We claiming to be Israel, and we are really outcasted from society, man. The BHIs, And that put us on the scene for us to be saved, potentially, Lord willing, man. Continuing on. It says, and gather the dispersed from Judah, from the four corners of the earth. Now, let's go into that word dispersed, man. Because niggas don't understand the scriptures, man. Dispersed, Strong's H5310. Let's go down. Scattered, dispersed, overspread, scattered, dispersed. Let's see what Google say what dispersed mean, man. Because again, we was dispersed throughout the Gentiles. Doesn't mean that the Gentiles are going to be saved. Just like Lot. Going back into Sodom and Gomorrah, when Lot was prophesying against Sodom and Gomorrah for the lack of better words, Abraham was asking, you going to save these 50 men? If you no. He said, I ain't going to save the city. I'm just going to bring that one righteous man out of it. So the Lord, he's not going to save the Elam. No, he's going to save the Israelites that look like Elam and that dwell amongst Elam, you know? So again, that word disperse, distribute or spread over a wide area. So the Lord dispersed us throughout the whole world, and that's who only salvation is for. So yeah, I pray this video edify. I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Rakak Pradash. I want to give them my honors to my apostle elders, Ray Mulestone, and Shalom. What you said, bro? Yeah, I already hit up the brother, Kazaki.